So recently I came across this blog post online, which really amazed me when I read it, because it shared a feature of the Quran which I'd never come across before. And what I want to do in this video is actually share this feature with you, because the reality is we know the Quran is a miracle for several reasons. For example, the literary miracle of the Quran, the historical precision of the Quran, the linguistic superiority of the Quran, and so on and so forth. But this particular feature is amazing because it strings the Quran together in a way that I've never seen before. So this particular feature is called the checksum, which has been termed the checksum of the Quran. Now, I'll explain what this means a bit further later, but for now, just get a piece of paper and a pen and just follow along. So the first thing we need to do to appreciate this feature is we need to list the number of chapters in the Quran. So from 1 all the way down to 114, we make a list. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way down to 114. The next thing we want to do next to this is to write down how many verses are present in each chapter, right? So for example, in Surah Fatiha, chapter 1, we have 7 verses, so put 7 next to it. Surah Baqarah, we have 286 verses, so put 286 next to it. Chapter 3, Surah Al-Imran, we have 200 verses, so put 200 next to it. And do all this all the way down to 114. Now you have 2 columns, right? You've got a column for the chapter numbers and a column for the number of verses in each chapter. The next thing we need to do is we need to add each one. So we need to add the column of the number of chapters with each other. So we do 1 plus 2 plus 3 plus 4 plus 5 all the way down to 114. And the total we get is 6,555, right? So make a note of this total. The next thing we do is we want to add the number of verses with each other. So 7 from Fatiha, 286 from Al-Baqarah, and we add them together and we add them all the way down to the final chapter of the Quran. The total we get here is 6,236. So moving on, the next thing we want to do is we want to cross add. So we want to add the chapter number with the number of verses in that particular chapter. So for example, in Surah Fatiha, chapter 1, we have 7 verses, so we do 7 plus 1, which is 8. In Surah Baqarah, we have 286 verses, so we do 2 plus 286, which is 288, and we do this all the way down to the 114th chapter. Now, once you've done this, and I'm not expecting you to do this right now, maybe do it later on, but once we've done this, we will end up with 114 totals. Now, let's focus on these totals for a second. The next thing we want to do is we want to split these totals into 2 groups, even totals and odd totals. And when we do this, what's amazing is, and you could do this yourself, what happens is when you split these into evens and odds, they split exactly down the middle. We have 57 even totals and 57 odd totals. Subhanallah. Now you may claim, you may consider this is a coincidence. Fine, we'll leave that for now, we'll move on, because this is where it gets really amazing. When you add all the even totals together, the total you get is 6,236. When you add all the odd totals together, the total you get is 6,555. Now here's what's amazing. Can you see what's just happened? When you add the number of even totals together, you get 6,236, which is the same as the total of the number of verses in the Quran that we added earlier. When you total the odd numbers, the number you get, as we said, is 6,555, which is the same as the total of the number of chapters in the Quran. Now this is called a checksum. Anyone familiar with computers will know what a checksum is, because a checksum is basically created when you have a set of data and you're storing or you're transferring this data to ensure there's no errors in the particular data, or there's nothing lost or added, or something doesn't go wrong basically. When we apply this to the Quran, what does this mean? This means that the Quran is preserved, right? Because the reality is, if we were to change the order of chapters around, this delicate sum would not add up. If we were to remove a verse from the Quran or add a verse to the Quran, the sum would not add up once again. So, this is how delicate this sum is. And another way to appreciate this too is to think of it in this way. Say you wrote down this sum first, or you calculated this sum first, and then you wrote the Quran. That's impossible. You could never do such a thing. Now, I'm not claiming this is a miracle, right? But what I'm saying is that, yet again, this is another amazing feature of the Quran. And when you add it to the corpus of miracles and features of the Quran already that we know of, it blows your mind. And it becomes more and more difficult to deny that this text is from the divine.